Next, my doctor, when I approached her again to ask for this exemption, she again reiterated, no, I can't. There's too many legalities around it. I said, can you see, though, my concern considering the mandates have just come in? I can't legally work. The wait time is anywhere from now 11 months to 2 years. I don't know. I feel like I'm just stuck in this limbo world now. I don't know what to do. And she had even said to me, if I were to request her vaccinate me, she would say no because of my anaphylaxis and that it was too risky to do it in her practice.
Now, you haven't told me that before. I mean, this is bombshell. Yeah, this is it's Kafkaesque, right? A doctor who knows that she can't afford to vaccinate you, right? I mean, at least she has the good sense not to do that, perhaps for the wrong reason. But a doctor who knows that your medical condition does not allow her to responsibly vaccinate you cannot write you an exemption that says it would be irresponsible to vaccinate this person. I just don't understand. I mean, really, at some level, you've just discovered a system in which all discretion has been removed. Yeah. And I have to imagine that what's going on is that there is such antipathy for people like myself who fear that there are things about these vaccines that may put anyone in jeopardy, that the desire to prevent folks like us from finding an exemption has caused them to remove exemptions from the map. And they're literally putting you in danger of your life in order not to grant an exception to someone else. And that no rational system could possibly function that way. It's really, they have decided to sabotage their own system because of their anger at a certain class of person. And I must tell you, I mean, you and I obviously aren't in the same system since I'm American and you're Australian, but to the extent that my concerns, which I think are legitimate, are causing them to break a system that now can't protect you, I feel some responsibility for it. I do. And, I don't feel that it would be safe to get the vaccine, but certainly I would probably get away with it. I'm in a far better position to do it than you. And I hate that we're being pitted against each other like this. What kind of crazy world have we landed in?
It's literally, since all this, after hearing that from my doctor, she said she would try again for the public system, saying, urgent, this is vaccine related, to see if it could progress me in the queue to be seen. I was quite emotional from all this. I just was not expecting any of this to happen. I posted a video on Instagram to my tiny little audience that I have, essentially just being like, this is my story and I don't know what to do. It doesn't seem to make any sense to me. I was just screaming out into the ether. And to my surprise, the story blew up. It went viral overnight. I had a mix of reactions. I actually had a lot of people in the same boat as me contact me because of this. And then I also had some people in society saying, well, not being aware of this was going on to people like me. They were shocked to find out that the people that supposedly are the ones that they're getting vaccinated for, as the propaganda is saying, aren't getting granted exemptions or are getting put through the ringer with this. However, there were some in society saying to me, anaphylaxis isn't that bad. Why don't you just go get the vaccine?
I hope that the people who said that to you don't know anything about anaphylaxis, because the idea that this is something that because there's checkbox of what you're supposed to do when somebody has an anaphylactic reaction, that it's something that we can just budget for, is obvious nonsense. I mean, not only is the anaphylactic reaction a lethal hazard to you, and the treatment for it not a safe treatment and a treatment that can fail, but it is also the case that the vaccines themselves, their very nature, causes them to reprogram elements of your immune system. You're obviously somebody with an unusual physiology that creates unusual jeopardy for you encountering things in the world. You are the last person who can afford to have your immune system reprogrammed in some unpredictable way that might cause you to become allergic to new things that today you don't have to worry about, but a week from today you might. There is no justification. And I will also say, this isn't smallpox. COVID is a serious disease, but it is not a disease that kills healthy people very regularly. And therefore, the benefit that comes from vaccinating a single person like you is probably near zero. The chances that anyone will be protected, especially in a place like Australia that has a low rate of COVID to begin with, the chances that any benefit comes to anyone from doing this to you is very, very low. And the risk of harm to you is not only very high, but the harm itself is likely very extreme.
Yes.
So every single parameter of your story is clear. They're all clear. There's no reason. If you wanted to test the system to see if it could grant an exemption, you would be the perfect case. You just check every box and see if you get an exemption. And if you don't, that says there are no exemptions.
Yes.
Right? That's a frightening condition.
It is. And since all of this, I guess since I made my story public and the video going viral, it was also picked up by a local Australian broadcasting news station, which gave me airtime to discuss this, who again, very similarly to you, said that this is very clear cut. I am the perfect case to be granted an exemption. But prior to that, after seeing my GP as well, I was then contacted by an organisation which I was never referred to. They're called the Victorian Specialist Immunisation Services. As far as I can see, they have actually taken over the immunology clinic at my treating hospital. I was contacted by one of their nurses who asked me, who diagnosed me with the polyethylene glycol allergy, and I actually said to her, well, your hospital did. And she said, oh, well, I haven't looked into your file. And she said, well, let's see how we can get you in here to vaccinate you safely. Which concerned me because I was like, well, there wouldn't be a way. I'm diagnosed anaphylactic. What I'm seeking is an exemption. And she turned to me and said, oh, no, we don't give exemptions.
This is a person working in a hospital.
In a hospital, yeah.
Who actually made the argument that you should come in, have the vaccination, and if and when you have your reaction, they can treat you with the epinephrine right then and there.
That's correct.
I mean, obviously it's better than sending you home, but wow, how does a medical professional fail to understand the jeopardy that they're putting you to? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is where like risk versus benefit has completely gone out the window, because it's like I know I have anaphylactic reactions to these excipients. Anytime I've ingested one, put it on my skin, I've always had some type of reaction. The severity could be somewhat more mild at times or somewhat more severe. However, it's a life risk. We know that anaphylaxis is not a small a low risk issue. It is quite high. It can cause death, and quickly as well. So to be told that, I was just that just spun me out even more. I was really just, I had no idea where to go. And so I took it to social media with my video. And then in like this bizarre twist of fate, someone, although I never mentioned the name of my doctor, someone had seen my video. And this is my clinical immunologist, the private one, that I was told the wait would be 11 months to see. Got me into a cancellation spot with him in the next 4 days. So if I never made that video at my wit's end, if it never went viral, this would never have happened. I saw him. I gave him all my documentation, all of the correspondence from my treating hospital who said that they didn't look into my file or didn't know about the polyethylene glycol being recorded at their hospital. I had all that correspondence. I took it with him. My GP also has all this correspondence. And he literally said to me, this is clear cut. You cannot receive these vaccinations. The possibility of you also, you have the documented polyethylene glycol allergy. There's no point in skin prick testing me for this because I actually had an anaphylactic reaction from skin prick testing before, which ended up resulting in me having epinephrine administered at my treating hospital from the polyethylene glycol component. He said, there is no point testing you for this. Not to mention also the issue with skin prick testing is it can be completely different when something is injected into your system at a concentrated level as well. Your body can react differently. So he mentioned all this to me and he said there is a huge potentiality that I will react to polysorbate 80. And given that I have had an anaphylactic reaction induced by skin prick testing, I'm sort of, it could react quite badly with me just even getting the testing done for this. So he actually filed that evening my IMO 11 certificate to the Australian Immunisation Registrar, ticking all the boxes for my permanent exemption, saying that I cannot get these vaccinations. That was lodged 3 weeks ago, and I still have not received my exemption. When I have... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, I'm just going to ask you the obvious question. Do you have any idea what's happened?
I've called the Australian Immunisation Registrar, which are an arm of our Medicare, which is federally run. So this is now out of the hand of the state government. I have called 3 representatives for this to find out what is going on. Each time I've been told a different story. The first time I was told that she could see my exemption in the queue. This was last week. And that they were backlogged. However, they were up to date. They were up to the date of October 20th to process. Mine was submitted on October 26th, so it shouldn't take too much longer. Still hadn't received anything. Yesterday, I phoned them again in the morning. They actually stated to me that they got the exemption. However, it was illegible to read. So they requested that my doctor send a new one, which was then received on November the 2nd. And I am being placed back in the queue.
Now, wait a minute. I mean... I think I'm fairly good at spotting bullshit, and I think I may have spotted a healthy dose of bullshit here, because this suggests the fact that there is a queue and that, yes, well, we can see yours in it and we are working our way towards it, suggests that exemptions are being granted. Mm-hmm. Now, if exemptions are being granted, what the hell have you encountered? Why are you having such trouble getting the system to recognize the obvious need for you to have one? Or are they just telling you that exemptions are being granted as a stalling tactic?
So once they go through this process, although your doctor may write the exemption, it doesn't mean that you're granted it. The government can still deny it.
Right, but again, Betty, look, either there's a discretionary process somewhere where some human being gets to put an eyeball on an application and say, you know what, this one's just clear cut, let's grant the exemption. Yeah. Or there isn't a process. And the point is, well, there really aren't any exemptions, but we can't very well say that, can we? And it would seem, if there is an actual process of exemptions, then you shouldn't have faced any of this. And if there's no process of exemptions, then what are they telling you? Right? That it's in a queue. Yes. I mean, maybe you've nailed it. Maybe the idea is, oh, yes, we haven't gotten around to rejecting your exemption yet. We've still got many ahead of you that need to be rejected. Maybe that's what they're saying. I mean, it's really, it's a customer service nightmare is what you're facing. Where something doesn't want to give you something you're entitled to. And so it's going to come up with every excuse and I'm without words.
Yeah, it's been the phone conversations I had yesterday, especially in hearing that it was requested that my doctor sent a legible copy, considering the first representative that I spoke to read to me that she could read my exemption. She saw it. She read out what was on it. So that sounded like it was legible to me. I was confused when this second representative said that it was illegible. So I contacted my private doctor again, who said no, there was no request for a second form to be sent.
So they told you that they had requested a legible one because the one they got was illegible, and the person to whom they would have made that request had not gotten a request.
Yes.
Well, that does sound like what would happen if they were bullshitting.
Yes, it does. It does. It seemed to unravel a lot of this, this messy ball of twine that has now been put in front of me.
Yeah.
So I rang them again, and I got another representative who said that now they could see that I had two forms, so one that was submitted on the 26th and one that was submitted on the 2nd. Now I was like, I'm very confused because my doctor has said that they haven't sent a second. They actually asked me, would they like me? Would they want me to send one? So I said to this representative, I'm very confused. Why do you have two documents and who are they from? And he looked at both and said to me, they're from the same doctor. I said, well, how do you have two when my doctor hasn't sent a second? I said, unless it was because my doctor had faxed one and sent one by mail at the same time. And he said that could be the reason. I said, well, then why did this representative earlier tell me that a second one had been requested because the first was illegible? It seems like a made-up story now. And I said, so what's going to be getting processed? And he literally said he didn't know. He did not know if and I said, well, I'm told that the one on the 26th, because also the earlier representative had told me now that they're up to the 29th of October. So clearly my one on the 26th didn't get approved. So now I must wait for my one on the 2nd of November to be approved. Yet when I spoke to this third representative, he said, oh, no, we're not up to the 29th. We're only up to the 26th.
It's unbearable. It's unbearable. Where did the humans go? You're obviously dealing with some kind of human-looking, human-sounding drone. I can't. I wish I knew what to say. I really have the sense that even in a very broken, and this has been my experience, even in a very broken system, there is generally somebody who, upon seeing a story like yours, would know the way to make it work out, right? Somebody would recognize the necessity, the importance here. And somebody, for whatever reason, just basic human decency, would say, you need to file a form 22-738B, right? And you've got to send it to this office and not that office. And then they can send back a such and such. And yet you've made enough inquiries, you've been to enough places, you've talked to enough people that there just doesn't seem to be anyone who can staunch the bleeding.